The honourable member for Kamloops, Thompson Caribou.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's always a pleasure to rise on behalf of the people from Kamloops, Thompson, Caribou. I thank my friend from Edmonton West for clapping for me to say that. It really is a pleasure to rise. I always joke that I'm not sure how a kid from North Kamloops ended up in the House of Commons, but here I am.
Yeah, how did that happen?
I'm not sure how it did happen. Mr. Speaker, before I begin, I want to recognize some people from my riding. The first is Bruce Barrett. Mr. Barrett, as I called him, was my art teacher at Westside Secondary School. I just saw that he passed away. Bruce Barrett, Mr. Speaker, had a very gentle heart. I didn't get to know him well, but I knew him to be a very good person. I send my condolences to his family, and may perpetual light shine upon him. I also want to recognize the life of Pearl Bostock. I went to high school with Pearl's grandchildren, some of them, and I see now that she has recently passed away. My deepest condolences to her family, and may perpetual light shine upon her. Last, Mr. Speaker, I want to recognize the life of Marlene Campbell. I went to kindergarten with Marlene's son, to the point where, to this day, I often called her Mrs. Campbell because I had trouble calling her by her first name. I was in her daughter's wedding party. I've known her for over 40 years. I still haven't come to grips with the fact that she recently passed on, and there are some lessons that she taught me that I'm going to touch on in this speech. I offer condolences to her husband, Bruce, to her daughters, Claire and Joan, and to sons, Matthew, Luke, and John. May perpetual light shine upon her. Now, I was speaking about Mrs. Campbell, and one of the things that I learned from her, and sometimes we would agree, sometimes we would disagree, but I learned the values of simplicity and frugality and transparency. In fact, I walked into her house a couple of years ago, and I said, wow, feels like I'm back in 1986, because the house was exactly the same. And there's a part of me that thinks government should be like that. Why does government have to be flashy? The whole point of the government is to get the job done. And if the government is actually getting the job done, we shouldn't need a 400-page document, or really looks like a mini phone book now, telling us how great the government is, that we've never had it so good. Right. This is a government that is creating board after board, tribunal after tribunal, making government bigger and bigger. I believe the public service has grown by 42%.
Shocking.
And yet, is passport service any better?
No.
Is immigration any better? Heck, the former immigration minister and now housing minister lost track of what, 1 million people?
Unbelievable.
Potential leadership candidate? Lost track of all of these people, and this, with this inflation, not only in finances, but with government just building upon government. Perhaps the question we have to ask ourselves is not, why are we spending, but how should we be spending efficiently? And the reason I say that is because I have frontline government workers that come to me day after day, it feels like, Mr. Speaker, saying, Frank, we get told from the top, but nobody talks to us about efficiency. And we're actually told to cut because this government has promised so much. Let's not forget, and we chuckled when the member across the way talked about building, 4 million houses? This is a government that can't even plant 2 billion trees. Planting a tree is a problem. Heck, staying out of the penalty box with the ethics commissioner is a problem.
That's right.
They can't even do that. They can't plant a tree. They're actually double counting. I filled in a committee, and the government was double counting from 2 different programs to make it look like they were meeting different targets in planting trees. These are not the lessons of simplicity and frugality, and the government can extol its programs all it wants and say, this is a success. I actually got a letter from a dentist that services my family saying, hold on a sec when it comes to dental care. This is not what you think it is. In fact, I'd love to bring it to the House. I didn't think I should. Perhaps I could bring it to the House and give it to the member from Winnipeg, and we can table it.
Yep.
They're so confident that dental care is the be-all and end-all. What about the people who can't find childcare services? What about that, Mr. Speaker? Unlike Mrs. Campbell, this is not a government that fashions itself on simplicity, transparency, and frugality. In fact, this is a government that said it would be open by default, and yet all it does is attempt to obfuscate when the going gets tough. Look at ArriveCan. Liberal friends got rich. And they don't want people to know that. They don't want people to know that. They are fine spending money, but more concretely, these Liberals are fine spending our money, your money, my family's money, the tax money. I love pasta as much as the next person. I'll admit it. My mom makes the best gnocchi out there. For those who don't know, gnocchis are a little dumpling, okay? By hand, 2 fingers, hand rolled. They're very labor intensive because you have to literally hand roll each one. So hey, I like pasta. I'd like to think I even make a mean carbonara, okay? Here, what do we have? A private business, presumably making profit, and the government is giving $1.7 million for 10 jobs. Hey, it looks great. They want to save the riding. $1.7 million for 10 jobs. They call that an investment. And the NDP will do cartwheels talking about corporate bailouts and corporate giveaways, and then they'll actually vote with the government on the line items that enable that very giving. Hey, I like pasta. And you know what? There's a lot of pasta to be bought. I don't know why the government is saying to perhaps 4 to 5 families, every dollar you pay in taxes will go to the tune of $170,000 per job. Let's talk about these auto contracts that they love to talk about. There are some estimates that we are subsidizing to the tune of $1 million a job.
Wow.
I drive an electric car. Great.
That's wacko.
I drive it, but what I'm seeing is that demand is going down. I really like my vehicle. I do. But if demand is going down, and we're saying we're investing. Well, you know what? I've made some bad investments in my day, and when the stock went down, we suffered from it. This budget talks about protecting farmers from the cost of climate change. They want to do something for farmers. Pass Bill C-234 in its original form. Rather than obfuscating, rather than the member from Winnipeg telling us we've never had it so good.
The farmer from North Winnipeg.
At what point will this government wake up and realize the budget doesn't balance itself, that they have doubled the debt, and now with interest rates being double and in some cases triple, Canadians are hurting? They talk about school programs. How many students are going hungry because of their policies? Mr. Speaker, I could go on for hours about this. Heck, I could go on for hours about what the member from Winnipeg said, but I'm going to move a motion at this point. And it's a sub-motion, Mr. Speaker, and it says that the motion be amended by deleting all the words after the word, quote, that, end quote, and substituting the following, colon, Bill C-59, an act to implement certain provisions of the Fall Economic Statement tabled in Parliament on November 21, 2023, and certain provisions of the budget tabled in Parliament on March 28, 2023, be now read a third time, but be referred back to the Standing Committee on Finance for the purpose of reconsidering all of its clauses with the view to amend the bill so as to give Canadians a break this summer by eliminating the carbon tax, the federal fuel tax, and GST on gasoline and diesel. and that is seconded by the member from Edmonton West.
Great motion.
Mr. Caputo, seconded by Mr. McCauley, moves the following amendment. That the motion be amended by deleting the words all the words after the word that and substituting the following. Bill C-59, an act to implement certain provisions of the Fall Economic Statement tabled in Parliament on November 21st, 2023, and certain provisions of the budget tabled in Parliament on March 28, 2023, be now not read a third time, but referred back to the Standing Committee on Finance for the purpose of reconsidering all of its clauses and with the view to amend the bill as to give Canadians a break this summer by eliminating the carbon tax, the federal tax, the GST on gasoline and diesel. The amendment is in order.